Before I begin, I wanted to put another disclaimer in case anyone said anything. This is my opinion, and I will get rough with this game, even though it is a demo. Last thing to mention is that I will be covering some sensitive content. Viewer discretion is advised. Simulator games. We all love them. But back in 2012 and 2014 was the golden age of simulators. Goat Simulator, Farming Simulator, and Faster Than Light. Wow, I got a little older saying all those games. But this game is still in development, and let me introduce you to... Now, why am I talking about Yandere Simulator? Well, for a few reasons, because this game is a little personal to me. I knew a lot of people who really liked the game, but never played it. But showing it to people is really fun. I want to skim through the behind the scenes stuff, and I know a lot of people don't like this game, and some people really like it. I know that the dev has a lot of stuff that's personal, and I know the game's been in development for a while. I'm not going to pretend that I know how to make a game, but from the looks of it, it's pretty hard. It's a little surprising that most of it is volunteer work, and from the credits, it looks like the voice actors had to be really flexible to voice more than one character. I know about the coding thing that happened a while ago, and I won't get into it. There's so much about this game's development, I have to make a separate video, if that comes out. And believe me, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Now for the game itself. I played this back in 2014 and 15 and a little in 2017. Then I stopped for a while. Now, how much has this game improved? Well, in all honesty, a lot has changed. It looks good, but needs more touch-ups, and I'm glad they still have mission mode because it's one of my favorite modes in this game. It plays a lot like Hitman, which I'll get into later in this video. Now, how's the game? The school itself changed a lot. I'm surprised on how much is in this game. From the lore, the Easter eggs, the characters, what seems like millions of different types of hairs from different animes, the weapons, there's a lot in this demo. To start things off, you play as Ayano, who is the poster girl of the game. She is your typical yandere who is doing everything to get her true love no matter what. But I have one issue with the character. She's boring. Nothing really stands out for the character. It's like American Psycho, where it's fun to watch the character of Patrick Bateman, but in the book it's boring because you read his thoughts, then his actions. For Ayano, we see both sides, but she doesn't have the charm that really brings in the character. And speaking of bringing in our character, the intro is pretty good. Back when I played it, it was a black screen, but the animation is fair, but it can do better. It's a little weird for a little girl to be empty at a young age, and if I felt a little bit of emptiness, my dad would tell me to go outside and enjoy being young. Thanks, Dad. Then again, it is fictional, so I won't be too nitpicky about it. How does the game run? I have a gaming PC, and I'm sorry to disappoint, but the game itself is unplayable. The biggest problem is the frame rate. I tried everything. I lowered the graphics, I lowered everything, and it still struggles. I found out that the problem was the coding and not my PC. And from the research, it's the students that are taking a huge chunk of the game space. Here's my proof, and shout out to Spoctor for pointing this out. Update. I didn't know about the Spoctor situation that happened with him. He provided some insight to the game a while back, and this is part of my old script. Anyways, back to the video. I'll show you the frame rate when I start it up. Now I'm going to boot it up again and press the kill all command. Wow, 60 frames per second. I'll talk about it more soon, but I want to say some positives. I'm surprised how detailed you can cover up your track. You can put a raincoat on to cover you from the blood, you can lay down a tarp, wear gloves, etc. And when you do eliminate someone, the school has an impact. If someone's seen you disposing or killing anyone, certain people won't like you and how you got away with it. So you really have to be careful on who you can take out. And if someone goes missing, there will be flyers around the school. And if someone finds a body and you get away with it, there will be a school funeral, which is really dark. Now for the clubs. There are way too many to be in one club. You can interact with other classmates around the school, like complimenting them, gossip, and doing a task for them so that they can be your buddy. But for clubs, you can only join one for the rest of the game. It sucks because it would have been better if you had 3 clubs to join for the whole game. There are club activities, but not all of them have minigames. But my favorites are the light music club and the martial arts club. I know that they're not fleshed out yet, but I like the feeling that you have a choice to be either an outcast and not talk to anyone, or talk to everyone. I also got to mention the voice acting in this game. Most of them do a good job for what they have, but there's a problem. There are a lot of characters in this game and possibly more to come. I know that the dev is trying to pull a lot of backstory into all these characters, but it's going to be really hard to voice all the students. It reminds me of a few games that had a small cast, like Condemned and Half-Life Opposing Force. I wish there was more volunteer work, and hell, maybe give a boost to people who want to be in the voice acting business. And I gotta mention the reputation meter. I hate and love it. I hate that if it gets all the way down, it's an instant game over. I understand that, but why does Senpai have to know? And Senpai, we'll get into in a little bit. Also, if you're wondering what a high reputation does, everyone can follow you without doing a task for them, which makes things easier, but maybe do some world building for the people you helped. Like say hi when you walk by. I know it's small, but it goes a long way. Update, I wanted to kind of do an editor's note, but this is one of my old scripts. Now, Senpai. First off, why? Why him of all people in the school? I'm sorry to say, but I wish Senpai was a little more interesting. I understand that I'm playing as a Yandere, and you can create him and play dress up, but man, I wish he wasn't so boring. His interests are reading and listening to classical music. Maybe he can join a club or interact with people besides the rivals of the game. I understand that he is a Joe Schmo, which is fine, but this is a demo, so maybe the dev can work something out with the character. On the positive note, he is a really good challenge to the game and makes you think about your surroundings. Then there are the teachers. It wouldn't be a school without them. They have different dialogue when you arrive to class late, which hits a little too close to home for me, but I love that kind of detail. Now, I should have mentioned the classes earlier in the video, but I'll be brief with them. You can take different types of subjects like gym, math, biology, and... Wait, this sounds like a game I know.
Ah, hello class. The curriculum demands that you do these vocabulary assignments. Why do you finish them here in class? That way you'll have more free time.
What?
But like Bully, you do get abilities. In the game, you have 5 study points. You can run faster or reduce blood on the floor. It's a nice touch to add, but you don't have many study points and you only have a week to eliminate your rival. I would invest wisely. The clubs help, but it's not much. It's still hard eliminating anyone, which is the point, unlike a lot of games where you can kill a whole room and walk out. But here, eliminating anyone can have a lot of consequences. The disposing of anything is also hard because when you want to dispose of anything, there is a small gang of delinquents at the furnace. And boy, let me tell you about them because they are one of my favorite things about this game. The delinquents are like a club. Obviously, they are thugs or outcasts of the school, but the fun part is that you can join them. Not a lot of games do this because they don't want the player to join the obvious bad guy, which a lot of games do. But here, they're more of a neutral side. The only way you can join is by doing favors for all of them. And the best part is that the delinquents still go to class, but hang outside of the school. Also, I want to mention how they all look the same. Kinda wanted to point that out. Speaking of outside, there are collectibles like manga, cassette tapes, and a YouTube closet. Now the mangas give you a slight buff permanently, the cassette tapes are more lore and story, basic stuff, and the YouTube closet. I know a lot of YouTubers in here, notably Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Cub Scouts, and Bijou Mike. Unfortunately, I think Mark and Jack don't play anymore, but I know Jay and Mike play it from time to time.
That one didn't age quite so well.
They have their plushies, which is nice. I know a few small YouTubers, but I don't know all of them. There are other things like Crush and the box from Metal Gear. I know there are some other Easter eggs, but my all-time favorite is the cheat menu. I gotta say, there are a lot of them. There's so many cheats, I can't even put them in one video. I also like the schedules and knowing people's routes or routes. It's pretty good, and I think if it was a little more detailed, it could go a long way. Now let's talk about our first rival. To be honest, one of the easiest bosses if you have a high rep, but trying to get her directly, you'll be stopped by your most trusted friend, Ribaru. Yeah, she sucks. You can distract and not kill her, but I wish there was more ways to take her out. But how is Osana as a character after all these years of development? It's gotta be good, right? Right? Well, sorry to say, but she's very generic, and don't even try to stalk her because it is painfully slow and boring. Although it depends on how you approach it if you want to befriend her. It's really easy, but so is eliminating her. And before someone says, well, she's the first challenge of the game, it's not supposed to be hard. You're right, but here's the thing. You have about 5 days, so the stakes are high. I wish. For a newbie, it might take a few attempts. And yes, the dev has said that this game is made for different playthroughs. I've played all the outcomes back then, so sorry for the lack of footage. But she is so boring. Although I will give credit where credit is due, the voice actor who voices Osana does an amazing job making the character a certified douchebag. She'll pretty much go behind his back and diss him and his choice of music. And I hate to say it, but you can expose and manipulate her plans, and I don't know why, but it's really satisfying seeing her get rejected. All I gotta say, I haven't seen this one in a long time. But in all seriousness, she is an okay boss. I wish you can do more with her. 6 out of 10. Now it's time to talk about the bad stuff. I want to be constructive than to be mean about it. First, the schemes. It's very specific on what you can or can't do. There's not much thought into it, and you can't do anything different with it. I know this is heavily influenced by Hitman, where in that game you can listen to people's conversations and give you hints to infiltrate a heavily guarded building. Here, it's a 1-2-3 guide on how to eliminate someone, or you can figure it out by befriending. And second are the info points. There are a lot of ways to get points by taking a picture of someone's face, planting bugs around the school, or stealing someone's phone. But the most controversial one is taking pictures of girls' undergarments, or panty shots for short. Honestly, I can see why a lot of people are turned off by this feature. I understand that all the people are 18 and over, but it doesn't excuse it. I get it. It's supposed to feel like a Japanese game, and yes, games have done that, but it doesn't mean it could be done again. As I was writing the script for this video, I hopped on the game at 3 AM in the morning and realized something I wish this game explored more in, which is the anime. So from the time of this recording, you can only watch one anime in the game, which is an obvious reference to Death Note. But in the anime, it gives you hints on how to take out rivals. This feature sounds good, but the problem is pulling it off. I wish there was more of this than the scheme. Maybe you can buy more or find different anime. And another thing is the characters. There are so many that look the same. I know that this is an indie game, but most of the models look the same. Maybe create some detail by making them a little taller or how properly they dress. For example, the delinquents. Maybe some of the students backed out from being a delinquent and are now part of the gaming club. It reminds me of a character in Bully who used to be a nerd but became a jock. It's small and it helps make the character stick out. I also want to mention how tedious the game is. Maybe the students can have unique tasks instead of fetch quests, or maybe side missions. Make sub-stories for important people for the clubs or even non-click students. Maybe do some digging on the school's history or most importantly, the rivals. It would be really cool to add something like that into the game. The fetch quest sounds good, but only some students have one unique side quest. Then what are you going to be doing? I spent most of my time running around to see what I can do. Last thing I want to mention is the lack of minigames. I know there's a Rockstar minigame, the DDR machine, and 2 video games, and a maid cafe where you can work to get money. I wish there was a bit more to do around the school and outside. There is one more minigame, but you have to join the delinquents, and you can actually spar with them, which is really cool that they added a fighting minigame. I'm done with the bad stuff, but there are some stuff that I forgot to mention. The house that you're in is alright. You got a computer to interact with. Unfortunately, you can't do much on it for now. The video games are a nice touch, but it would be really cool if there were more. You can watch anime as I previously mentioned. You can read manga for some character buffs, but I kind of want to read them. It would be really cool to have 1 or 2 pages to read. You can select different underwear that will give you buffs. Anyway, you have a shrine for senpai. Okay, this is getting weird. You have a corkboard where you can put pictures on and put strings. It's cool, but also weird. Then you have a basement. Okay, I'm getting some serious Future Diary vibes. Anyways, there is a town you can explore. It's interesting. This is where you can buy tools, electronics, look out into the ocean, get a haircut.
Yo, what's up?
Which you can't get, and some other stuff. And yes, you can't buy any games, unfortunately. I think in one of the devs' videos he said that instead of a town, it can be one street, which is interesting, but I want to see more of the town and what it brings. Now, I was going to end the video here, but I want to talk about Yandere Simulator 1980s mode.
This is like George Orwell's book, 1984.
I thought this was DLC for a long time, but it's part of the game. And yes, I know it's a copy and paste version of the base game, and I gotta say there's not much to do in it. I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for anything about the 80s. I wish it gave the same treatment as the base game. So in 1980s mode, you play as the mother of Ayano. It's cool seeing different students and teachers, but there's one problem. Huh. I bet this is where Joe Rogan records. It's the same as before, but you're in a different time period. I haven't played much of it. I really like the background to Saitozaki explaining how she died and later on remained as a ghost. I like how they do the supernatural in this game. Some minor things to 80s mode are the computers and the different store clerks, which is really... what is she doing? But again, it's a copy and paste of the school, and I think something is missing. Maybe have a different interior, or maybe some parts of the school under construction. Although another interesting club, which is the newspaper club, in the base game it's InfoChan's room, but here it looks like a detective's office. Some stuff have been changed here and there, but nothing out of the ordinary. I can't say much on the story from what I can tell, but it does look interesting, since the gameplay is being worked on and there seems to be some endings. I would suggest looking at some character bios on the website, or even looking at some random conversations on YouTube. I like the additional fighting minigame to unlock the Yakuza. Now, the Yakuza in this game is interesting. They're like InfoChan, but with the Yakuza, it makes the game a little bit of a cakewalk. You can eliminate rivals by using their services and getting items like fake IDs and narcotic. I wish the Yakuza came back in the base game, depending on how often you use them. It would definitely be a really cool dynamic between Ayano in the future, since everyone knows you and the mother. But overall, 1989 mode is fun, but nothing too special. Last but not least is mission mode. It's heavily inspired by Hitman's contracts, where you can make or randomly select contracts. You can make it hard by having cameras and metal detectors. My favorite challenge is Nemesis. She follows you everywhere around the school trying to eliminate you, and the best part is that Nemesis can disguise herself as one of the students. The only way you can tell is the way that Nemesis stalks you, so if you feel like someone is following you, always watch your back. Before the end of my old script, I wanted to give an update real quick. The game finally got a big update, which I'm happy about. First is the new design. It's okay. It's more set dressing, like more trees, flowers, and overall stuff to fill the school with. It's a good change and I approve. There's also a custom mode to the game, and honestly, I have mixed feelings about this one. On one hand, it's great that you can customize your entire game from the students, yourself, and the rivals, but it still doesn't fix the problem with how boring the game is. It's cool you can customize your game, but honestly, I wish there was more stuff to do. Sure, it's a copy and paste, and yes, you can create different events. However, I wish you can change more than the characters and objectives. It's fun making your game from 10 rivals, but it's the lack of voice acting that's bringing this down. But the mode is still there and adds more stuff to the game. Speaking of more, there's an admire feature where you can give senpai gifts. It's only for 80s mode, which is fine. I always thought that mode needed that extra detail. There's a new vendor, which is kinda useless, although it's the only way you'll ever have dreams, which may or may not connect to the story. And finally, the game got a new interaction interface. Thank God, because it's another way to flesh out the students. Although it's a little weird handing people money, but hey, it's there. But I wish there was voice acting to go with this. And finally, you can be a Yakuza. And it sucks. Why do I need a short weapon to defend myself? I have a katana and possibly the training. Also, once you're spotted, it's pretty much game over. So it's literally extra hard mode. And speaking of modes, there is a difficulty slider, and it's not that difficult. Maybe for a murderer, I used the good word to eliminate my rivals. Or frame them. And now we reach the end. My overall thoughts on this game were okay. Everything about it was not perfect. I give a lot of the game the benefit of the doubt since Yandere Simulator is still in progress. I have mixed feelings because it has a lot of good ideas, but the way that they are presented falls a bit flat for me. It was still fun seeing all the ways you can eliminate your rival or pull some strings to not get your hands dirty. The game is consistently updating, so your gameplay could be different than mine. I did say the game was a bit boring. It is, if you want to think out of the box. Me personally, I still had fun messing around with the game. I know I didn't cover all the game, which is fine. If I left something out, I apologize for that, but you might be asking yourself, when is it coming out? Well, I really don't know. The developer is not done with all of his ideas he has. I think Yandere Dev is holding out on something.
Very poor choice of words.
But I really hope that the finished game will look better. Maybe we haven't even begun, which is scary to think about. This is not a review. It's more of a preview since it's in development. Will I make another video about Yandere Simulator? Maybe, but don't hold your breath. I really don't know what the developer is planning, but will it come out? Only time will tell. This is the first time I will rank an indie game, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Now, this was my original script and the video would have ended here, but I still had a few more questions. But why? When I started this project, I said a lot of positive things about Yandere Sim, and as you could see, I said a lot of good things. It's not innovative, although I like how different it feels, but I played more and more, and I found a lot of issues, the biggest one being the frame rate. When I booted the game up, my computer started making a weird buzzing sound, but eventually stopped. I didn't pay much attention to it, but it sparked more and more issues. When I was recording the game would crash. Fine, it happens, but it crashed more. I was still determined to play more of it, until it crashed my computer 3 times. I lost hours of footage. I played other games, and it didn't happen, but every time I played Yandere Sim, it was the blue screen of death. So I looked at the requirements. I discovered that I can run the game. Remember when I said about how the students took a big chunk of the frame rate? It tanks the frame rate, even if the coding was changed. I also wanted to point out the fixes. This is a huge problem because more of them are patch notes and not fixes to the framework, which will cause more problems. Fix the framework, then fix the bugs. I played the old version of the game, and if I had footage of it, I would show you because a few minutes of loading it and playing it for 10 minutes crashed my computer. Not the game, my computer. And if you want to fix it, well, you can't. At least from my end. The game updates way too much, and why do I have to fix it? The only way to fix this game's code is by scrapping it and starting from scratch. Think about it. Everything can be fixed and brand new. Yandere Simulator has one thing that every indie game developer wants. It's a fan base. It had millions watching it. If you want a working game, sucks to be you. This isn't a AAA game, it's an indie game, and it pisses me off because why should everyone suffer? This was a missed opportunity. I get it. Way too many people can steal the work. That's what copyright is there for. And yes, I do know the email problem and the framework fixes, but it's still not fixed. And to the people who say indie games should have really high requirements, fuck you. Indie games should be good for gaming PCs. Sure, you can have the state-of-the-art computer, but this game requires a NASA computer. It's bullshit. Look, if you want to play the game, go right ahead. But I know a lot of the fan base doesn't have the equipment or hell, even a computer or laptop. Indie games are for the masses, not the classes. Have everyone enjoy the game. Small games like Papers, Please, Postal 1 and 2, or Project Warlock, even Five Nights at Freddy's. All of them are great games that don't require much. You can make the argument and say those games have pixels or they're old games. You're right, but these are simple games with a lot of content. And yes, there are indie games that require high equipment like Son of the Forest. Yandere Simulator is simple. It's on the Unity engine. I hate the coding, but I see potential. I love the fan base that keeps it alive.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone.
I know I said a lot of good things about the game, but the framework holds a lot of it back. If you have a good gaming PC, play with caution. But if you don't have a good PC or laptop, I would wait because you'll have the same issue I had. But I'm not going to tell you to play this game. Besides the framework and some bugs, I know that the dev has stated in most of his blogs that the frame rate is being improved. I recorded some new gameplay and it's not much, unfortunately. But don't get me wrong, I had fun playing it, and you can call me a hypocrite, but I'm giving the game the benefit of the doubt because it's a demo. This is my take on the game, and I gotta say, this has been a blast making this video. I got 99 problems, but this game isn't one of them. The video was supposed to officially end here, but in recent times, the dev has came out saying that he was inappropriately texting and calling a fan that is 16. It's really disappointing to hear that news. My biggest fear pretty much came to life. I've been following this game for roughly 9 years. Yeah, I was in middle school when this game began development, and I was really excited every Wednesday to see the new update. I loved seeing how much progress Yandere Simulator made. Yandere Simulator is personal to me because a lot of my friends wanted to see and play the game itself. I brought a lot of my friends together. As I mentioned, I don't want to talk about the dev a lot because this isn't a video about him. It's about the game. And it's sad to say, but this might be the end for Yandere Simulator. I really hope this isn't true. With the Unity fee plan, YouTubers not doing any more content, voice actors leaving, and most importantly, the community's back turned. I still want to see this game finished. I know that we are all watching the game's life cycle, waiting to see what's next or happening. I hope to see the ending, finished or not. Maybe, just maybe, someone or some force is tending the light at the end of the tunnel. I am Unique Frequency, signing off.